So good afternoon, everyone. And I want to really thank the MEC team for being here, to Dean Roll and to Dr. Data, the co-hosts of this conference, to Dr. Savabi, who is going to be managing this whole area. It's my honor to be here today. For those of us who are in the United States and watching the Democratic Convention, I'm on a high. I'm on a high because of our new Vice President, who is Black and an Indian woman as well. And that's the first time in our history. We're also doing this today, commemorating really the right for women to vote in the United States. Dr. Mayers knows about this because his wife has a major role in voters in our country and making sure that it happens. So I come to the conference with a great deal of joy. I've also been inspired by hearing all of the presentations, and I look forward to all of the rest of them. So because my background is not only higher ed, but it's also K-12, and I've worked really hard also on artificial intelligence while I was a leader at the Hunter College Campus School, where that was a mainstay. Recently, I managed the adult education for the college, and in my new role, I'm also using many new technologies when it comes to enrollment and the use of technologies to improve enrollment and retention. So my title is Explore, Expose, and Experience, Pathways for Minority Business Students, what we can do to get them, to keep them, and to graduate them. So could you go to the next slide? So my agenda will, first of all, look at embracing transformative student learning in the COVID environment, preparing students to compete in the new job market, and why business intelligence is key, virtual learning and engagement, and creating pathways of sustainability. Before we move on, I want to say that my abstract talked about the fact that one of today's conference sub-themes focuses on re-engineering business education. In a COVID-19 world, the new normal of work entails stepping outside of our comfort zone. And I think that's what all business professors have to do. We could have never imagined educating the next generation of business students, and we must embrace this new normal by reimagining the world of work and how we develop students to meet the demands and rigor of industry. We are very fortunate to have Dr. Antoinette Roberson working very diligently to connect us to internships. It follows that we must include in the discussion the idea of stackable credentials and business intelligence, with more and more emphasis being placed on virtual meeting platforms, what we're doing today. The integration of technology in our day-to-day lives has become imperative. Many universities are already leveraging video conferencing, professional development webinars as a key part of their educational and experiential learning toolsets, with Zoom, Microsoft Teams, WebEx, to bolster student outcomes, increasing up to 500% since March 2020. Furthermore, with the business intelligence, major benefit to institution is its ability to streamline processes and workflows. And so we'll begin. When we go to the next slide. So what are the recursive impacts with higher education practice? When we think of the COVID pandemic and social distancing measures to mitigate its spread have provoked widespread societal disruption. We practically had to grab our briefcases and book bags and run off campus. With recursive impacts with higher educational institutions and practice learning environments, is readily apparent. The forced rapid closure of face-to-face teaching has catapulted our academic staff and students into what is for many unfamiliar terrain. Part of my role as a vice president in enrollment management is convincing students it's okay to keep up your momentum and come back to campus. Education will continue. Challenges in managing such a rapid change in educational provision have been influenced by prevailing institutional attitudes towards e-learning and pedagogy, existing IT infrastructure, availability of learning technology, and the support of staff digital literacy and redeployment of clinical academies. Similarly, students have been compelled to adapt to a wholesale shift on online educational delivery. Some students will readily embrace the shift, some students won't. But this disruption has created fertile opportunity for transformation. I was privileged while being here to watch Dr. Crump and Lushan Muhammad present what happened in Brownsville. And Lushan actually talked about a person who was going to do something with fabric, but the pandemic offered that person, a young woman, an opportunity to create PPEs and face masks and expand greatly her business opportunities. So what a wonderful opportunity to see that. 60% of the CUNY students have lost their jobs. So we are all reinventing ourselves. The immediate response of many higher educational institution providers has been to replicate the traditional classroom, such as face-to-face didactic teaching with synchronous, online, or asynchronous lecture captures. While understandably necessary in the short term to prevent interruptions to students, we must critically question whether short-term replication is what we really should do. So understanding the need for change and innovation, and there's a constant need for businesses to adapt, and school is a business, to two technologies, become more creative, and finally, new ways of staying ahead of the competition. What we do here today in a college, it must be on various platforms. We must continue to discover new platforms and hold high expectations for students and for their faculty to be able to use the technology and to deliver. CUNY has 289,000 students. 90% of them will study online this fall semester. So we have to start, stop, and begin again is what we had to do when we first started in April to make sure we were on point. But then many of the wonderful faculty have spent the summertime and other times researching other platforms. So have students. Go to the next slide, please. So slide 2 actually looks at offering job critical certifications, embedding core academic offerings with hard skills, and providing opportunities to develop skills. So what are stackable credentials? The college degree, particularly the four-year college degree, is the foundation of what we're used to doing in college, the higher education system. Critics of this system argue that this organization fails to serve many of the workforce needs of the economy or the needs of the many students, especially low income and first generation students. So one proposed solution is to develop a system of shorter term stackable credentials. So in the adult education part of the college, one of the things that we would do is we would offer coursework and certifications like patient care technician or certified nursing assistant. Now, oftentimes a student that was matriculated in a degree program, say nursing, would come and take a certification course, and that's a stackable credential in order to enhance their opportunities to get a job when they graduated. But the reverse is also true. A person might start with the stackable credentials, say patient care technician, and then we would be inviting them into the college to go into the health sciences, probably the biology department, and move on to hopefully apply for nursing and move from a patient care technician to a CNA to phlebotomy, all the way into practical nursing and then to registered nursing. So certificates are the fastest growing form of college credentials, making up 22% of all college awards, with certificate holders earning 20% more than workers who have only their basic degree or high school diploma, associate degree, or college. The universities should take their most in-demand academic programs into account when determining what certificates to offer. Embedding core academic offerings with hard skills. So there are many students who get job offers, but the survey conducted by PayScale said that 44% of the employers said that new graduates are most lacking in writing proficiency and a gap 36% cite a gap in data analysis skills, and that many of them are not able to really do Excel, Tableau, or Python. So the hardcore skills needed in the digital age must include Microsoft Excel, sales, computer programming, mathematics, teaching, training, presentation, language course, personal computers. Sometimes, we all know, much learning goes on outside the classroom. So even though there's course offerings, there have to be opportunities for students to develop hardcore skills in other places. The other important thing is to provide opportunities for students to learn soft skills, right? And those soft skills are very different for first-time college goers and also students that might be in a lower socioeconomic category. The soft skills. One of the things that Student Affairs has done at our college through Amani Reese and her work is to make sure we provide all kinds of etiquette, opportunities to work as a team, opportunities to develop the soft skills of presentation. Those are all critically important. So that's customer service, cooperative team player, self-motivated ability to work, independent self-leadership, supervision, flexibility, adaptability, problem solving, organization, and interpersonal relationships. One of the other things that college offers through the SBCD program is the summer youth employment. Summer youth employment is not just for teenagers that are in high school, it's also for beginning college students. Their curriculum builds in an opportunity to develop soft skills in all of our participants. And we do about 1,500 to 2,000 students a year are in the summer youth employment programs. They're working remotely and learning many of the soft skills, giving an opportunity to work on them. Next slide, please. Here we're going to talk about data analytics, mitigating the risk of user error, and increased student admission, retention, and graduation rates. So using data analytics and business intelligence becomes critical. We have to leverage software and services to transform data into actionable insights that inform an organization's strategic and tactical business decisions. The principal goal of risk management process should be to protect the organization and its ability to perform their mission, not just its assets. Therefore, the risk management process should not be treated primarily as just a technical function carried out by IT experts who operate and manage the IT system, but as an essential management function. So what data analytics can do and say about effective learning? The collection and analysis of data about learning is a trend that is growing exponentially in all levels of education. Data science is poised to have a substantial influence on the understanding of learning in online and blended learning environments, the source of greater insights into student learning that have previously been unavailable. So the intersection of the science of learning with data analytics enables more sophisticated ways of making meaning to support student learning. So students have to learn about data, how to manage it, how to analyze it, and to understand the science of learning. All of us have gone through a process of our own metacognition. I remember, times at Columbia University, living on campus as a doctoral student, and really figuring out what's the best way for me to learn, the best way for me to study. We as professors also have to look at student behavior and help them find their own metacognition. They don't come into college maybe knowing that, and we have to look at their behaviors and what helps them to move. So data design. In the real life educational environments, creating meaning from data requires making reference to how learning activities are designed, and that's what we have to do, similar to the way in which the design of the experiment allows for inferences to be made about learning in the lab. Learning analytics is not just about big data. It's easy to criticize the field of learning analytics as being overly focused on isolated behavioral markers, but it's much more than that. The science of learning, therefore, has to be critical to us in the university to know how we can teach, making sure we have a portfolio of ways so that whatever the metacognition of the student is, we can reach them at that point and make them successful. That will increase student admission, retention, and graduation rates, and certainly career success. Go to the next slide, please. So what is asynchronous learning? What is virtual learning engagement? This became a major issue for us as we work to enroll students back in the college and to make sure that faculty who spend a lot of time looking at how to do even clinical things that were practical for the student, knowing that we were going to be mostly online. So, synchronous learning. Synchronous learning involves online studies through chat and video conferencing. This kind of learning tool is real time. It is like a virtual classroom that allows students to ask and teachers to answer questions instantly. But what is asynchronous learning? On the other hand, asynchronous learning can be carried out even while the student is offline. Asynchronous learning involves coursework delivered via the web, email, and message boards that are then posted in online forums, and the students can access them whenever they want. We actually, even through the help of our IT department, made a video to help students understand what this was and also help faculty. So the benefit to students and educators is that learners and instructors will find many benefits to these two things as a way to help them succeed in the classroom. There's also a reduced cost, but it's still human. You're able to teach and train at scale. There's a collaboration and engagement and an interactivity, and we hope that there will be improved learner outcomes. There's also flexibility with asynchronous learning of convenience, reinforced learning if it's asynchronous, and more learner control. So both methods have a benefit, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous. The comfort and the ability to use it by both faculty and students becomes important. It's not just about convenience, but it is about autonomy, less stressfulness, scalable, and cost-effective. Please go to slide 5. So as we are creating pathways of sustainability, we have to find ways to motivate students to want to learn more. In fact, what we always say is that when students come to our college, and to any college, and they take the beginning courses, some of them may come wanting to, study a particular thing. Other ones find their own passion once they get there. And it's very strange in America that at a certain economic level, students are pushed to be general liberal arts majors. But lower economic students usually are pushed to know exactly what they're going to do because higher education is expensive. But once a student finds their passion, that will help them balance the academic and the experiential learning and also support them in lifelong learning. And so, with lifelong learning, when we talk about learning, it's easy to think about getting a high school and a college education. Yet, it is not the only way you can learn, and it's just one type of formal education. Learning goes far beyond that. The time we spend in the classroom, the time we spend meeting with each other, one thing's for sure, education doesn't stop once we leave college or even reach a certain age. Learning is continuous, lifelong journey and adventure. I know that many of us were up at 4 o'clock this morning to be part of this conference because there's a love of learning that has been instilled in us. And we can only hope that that same thing is happening for the students that we have in front of us at the college. So purposeful lifelong learning is our personal lives can not only have a positive effect on our everyday development, but it can also help our long-term mental health. The majority of the adults and millennials view continuous learning and professional development as essential for careers in today's society. So one of the things we know about millennials is that the fact that they want to be lifelong learners. They want to do as many things as they can. They want to continue to learn as many things as they can about their field so that they get better and better. And then oftentimes the relationships between people are built on their passions about different academic subjects. So I'm thanking you for listening. And I want you to know that there are very detailed notes to this PowerPoint. Some of you have them, and I want to make sure that we can provide them for everybody on this conference. Thank you very much for this opportunity.